Student loans, low credit scores, market conditions, and many other things cause issues for buyers when trying to buy a home. But in this episode, we're going to talk about those things and also give you some solutions on how you won't allow these things to stop you from being a homeowner. What's up, guys? Wilmot here with the Bear Group, broker by EXP Realty. I'm here with my awesome team, Gavin and LaShawn, with I don't want to say the other company name. I was
Formerly of
about to
Deal,
say the
right?
other company name.
New American Funding.
New American Funding. And we're about to go ahead and get it started. And I'm excited to talk about this topic because I think a lot of people do run into issues when trying to purchase a home. But before we get into that, we got an announcement we're going to
Yeah.
make right here. We got the home buyers blueprint coming up in next month on the
April 12th.
April 12th. Yeah.
April 12th, right? So if you are available, come to the
All right.
library here in Orangeburg from 11 to 1 o'clock on
Mm-hmm.
April 12th. That's a Saturday, guys. So if you're available, come check us out. We will be live and we will be able to answer any questions that you might have pertaining to real estate and mortgages. And we look forward to serving you. We're going to have some great stuff there. We're planning it out right now, trying to make sure everything is ready and excellent for
Yeah.
our guests that's going to come. But not going to prolong this. Let's get right into it, guys. What do we have, LaShawn? Let's get right into it.
Yeah. So let's say the first step, barriers are I don't want to say they're inevitable because sometimes like just depending on how well qualified you are, how much preparation you done before you decided to enter the home buying process. Sometimes, you may run into some barriers or some obstacle, right? That can kind of prevent you from fully moving forward with the home buying process. So one of the major ones is always credit challenges, right?
Mhm.
I think a lot of time, credit is one of those things that wasn't necessarily taught in school. Credit, depending on how you was brought up with your family, your household dynamics, it's not a topic of where someone truly teaches you how to properly manage credit, how to really navigate good versus bad versus fair credit, things like that. So, of course, when it's time to buy a house, there may be some credit challenges that you may face. And so that can be a big barrier or obstacle in this home buying process. But what we're here to do today is to not only just discuss the barriers, but to also give you guys some actionable advice and some great like resources and tools to help you overcome these barriers so that you don't get stuck behind it and you're
Mm-hmm.
able to kind of push forward and move past and purchase that home. So Gavin, when it comes to credit, what advice can you give someone, I guess, to try to overcome any type of credit challenges, whether the scores are too low or whether they want to just make improvements?
Yeah. When it comes to low credit challenges, difficulty in trying to qualify for a mortgage, I think, it's a great thing to start making on-time payments. You want to make sure that as far as your credit history, you're proving that you can pay the debt you owe on time. So that's number one. That's always going to be just probably the most easiest thing that you can do yourself without going into the weeds of trying to rebuild your credit. Then reducing debt. If there's things that you can pay off quickly, or reduce the amount of debt that you owe, certainly you should do that. And then disputing any errors in your credit report. It's important to review your credit report. You get a free annual credit report every year that you can request. Go to annualfreecreditreport.com. No cost to you, and download that bad boy and review it. Make that a part of your annual, checklist, or the goals you set for the year, whatever it is. Make it a part of something so you know to do it each and every year, because quite too often, man, that movie that you got from Blockbuster or from Movie
Mhm.
Gallery 20 years ago, you didn't know that thing was on your credit. And
Movie
it's
gallery.
costing you a difference of 25 to 50 points because you still just letting this thing ride on your credit.
Right.
So
Right.
that's the solution, man. It's simple. You have to know what you don't know in order to make change in what you're trying to accomplish.
Absolutely.
Man, y'all remember when we used to rent movies like that, like Blockbuster?
Movie
Remember
gallery.
used to go to Blockbuster and if the movie wasn't there because the little thing wouldn't be behind it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So you had to figure. I was like, oh man, it's out. I got to come back and get this one. So I don't know
Or
if
you
y'all
see
feel
somebody, you
like
see
that.
somebody walking in, you checking their hands, see what they
Hey,
turning
can y'all
in.
check back there see if this movie in?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Y'all wouldn't. A lot of y'all wouldn't know nothing about that if
Well, I
y'all
had,
Are
I
we
young
had.
showing
men.
our age now? Are we showing our age?
I know. VHS guys, the black box looking thing that
Mhm.
look about this size.
Mm-hmm. Stick it in my VCR.
I know,
Yes.
right?
But no, that's a good one. Good one. So number two is down payment and closing costs, right? That can be a barrier because unfortunately, or maybe not, or I could say fortunately, like some people just don't know what they don't know, right? They don't know that, you're gonna have to put down money to buy a house. There are closing costs when buying a house. But I know that there are different strategies and ways that you can negotiate some of these costs, but these can sometimes become a barrier if you're not prepared to pay any of these things. Do you see that a lot, Wilmot?
But yeah, the down payment, and closing costs, you're right? I do see that some people will say, "Well, I don't have no money." Well, I said, well, it might be some ways around that. Okay, I don't want you to be worried about that. Right now, we as real estate agents are sometimes able to negotiate, the deal in a certain way where, hey, we might can get the seller to cover a good portion or maybe all of your closing costs. And then with the help of LaShawn and Gavin, that you might even qualify for down payment assistance. So, and when I say don't worry about if you don't have any money, you do need some money.
Mhm.
There are some other expenses during this process, like your home inspections, your appraisal, things of that nature, that earnest money that you're going to need to have up front in order to move a deal forward or move forward with purchasing a home. Okay. So, but there are solutions, like I mentioned, to helping you with, different, down payment issues or maybe even closing costs. And we can, as real estate agents, can negotiate that within the deal.
Yeah, I mean, I want to add to that because when it gets into the weeds of it, like sometimes even if you have an agent who's able to negotiate and get you all his closing costs, sometimes depending on that person's credit profile and everything, the approval factors are based off of the risk of the loan, you know,
Mm-hmm.
income, credit, and assets.
Mhm,
And if
mhm,
credit is borderline, I mean, barely just meeting the requirement for the loan program, and the borrower doesn't have a lot of assets themselves, and then on top of that, their income, they're at the max of their buying power. Sometimes to get an approval, we aren't able to give them down payment assistance and give them, the seller to cover all of their closing costs. Because to us, that to the lender and to our approval system, that's somewhat of a riskier loan, because the borrower doesn't have any skin in the game themselves.
right,
Like they
right,
don't have, so they're and not to scare anybody away, but that's a barrier sometimes that you
mhm.
don't have anything to offset the other risk.
Mhm.
Um, and that's quite often we go through that, quite often, and we have to figure out and get very creative with how can we make this work to where we're meeting the buyer's needs, and giving them what they need.
So, Gavin, you brought up a good point, and I will say this: like sometimes some of my buyers can qualify for some of the programs that you have. Let's say like a USDA loan, right?
Mhm.
Mhm.
Or I don't know if meant to say program, but the that type of loan, USDA loan, which is a no down payment loan, right? And then you also, if they are veteran VA loans, those are also no down payment loans. So you just
Mhm.
never know what you qualify for. You just have to allow us to assess your situation, and then that way we can better serve you, and don't allow that to be an obstacle for you.
Right.
This is true.
All
This is very,
right.
very true. And I think just not to beat a dead horse, but the last thing I would add to that is, even though these may be a barrier, but the solution is for you to work on just preparing yourself, right? Save as much as you can, put that
Right.
tax refund aside, just find other, if you have a 401k, if you can get a gift, just start doing other things to kind of help overcome that solution. I mean, overcome that barrier. So that is a solution for you. So number three is income and affordability. That is a big one. I
Mm,
think today, in today's time, when
mhm.
house prices are rising, when wages, are not necessarily going up as much, when
Right.
you have
Mhm.
higher interest rates and this the normal, day-to-day living of natural goods and things like that are all higher. So affordability is a big, 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 big thing, right? So what can a person do, right? What can a person do when, they have the desire to buy a house, but they really can't afford to buy a house?
So so let me touch on that, right?
Mm.
So of course, the higher the price, what does that mean? Higher down payment, higher mortgages, right?
Mhm.
So the affordability for some of the homes that you might not be there, right? So one of the solutions is you might have to make some compromises, guys.
Yeah.
That's a hard conversation to have sometimes, but you might not be able to get everything you want.
Yeah.
But if you are able to get all the things you need, if it ticks not, 10 out of 10 boxes, but maybe 7 out of 10, or maybe 8
Right.
out of 10, right? And maybe it doesn't have all the upgrades you want,
Hmm.
right? Maybe those are some things that you could actually do later and actually add value to the property once you move into the house. But like I tell some of my clients, if it has the footprint, right, has the footprint, the layout that you like. It might not have all the latest finishes. It might be a little dated. It might be something you can actually add later on down the road, but you still get into your home and you still are able to move forward with the buying process. So just make
Absolutely.
some hard, cuts or compromises. Okay.
Mhm.
And like kind of like we mentioned, plenty of times on, a lot of our episodes that I mean, I truly feel strongly about this, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
I feel like owning real estate, buying real estate, deciding to purchase a home, it's really a mindset, right?
Right.
Because sometimes you have to, like exactly what you're saying, make those sacrifices in order to accomplish the goal. Sometimes, especially with affordability and income issues, if your current income doesn't allow you to purchase at a certain price point that you're wanting to purchase at, then sometimes you may just need to get into that starter home. Right.
Right.
You may need to, like you say, find something that may not check off 100% on your list, but maybe, it meets 60, 70% of your list. Be able to make those adjustments or those sacrifices so that you can at least just get in the house and then
Right.
create a strategy or plan to leverage, the equity in your home over time to then maybe purchase something that you truly want and desire in the future. So maybe just taking incremental steps to kind of help you get there. I always like to give that as some other, sound practical advice that people can do too.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right, so
Absolutely.
Mhm.
let's get to number four. Number four.
Yeah. So like debt to income ratio. What is that? DTI. I know people hear that when they're in the buying process, but you know what that is I mean it's your income and um you know what, LaShawn? I like the way you
Right.
explain it better.
Right.
The DTI.
Oh, okay.
Explain
Are
it.
you saying you want me to explain it? Is that what you're
I
telling
just
me?
said it. I just said that because
No, you said
you,
you like how I explain
you
it.
make it more in understandable terms. I
Okay,
might
so yeah,
I'll be long
yes.
winded.
Okay, so see, that's one thing about a husband and wife. He
Hey,
knows,
can,
strength versus
can
weaknesses.
can you just go ahead and say whatever
Okay,
it is
go
you're
ahead.
gonna say about it? Thank you. We appreciate
So
you.
when it comes to the debt to income ratio, so it's basically, how much debt you have in comparison to the income that you make, right? So I try to explain to people that when we talk about debt, we're not talking about bills because there is a
Mm,
difference between debt and bills, right?
Hmm.
So your
mm,
debt are truly loans that you take out. That can be car loans, student loans, personal loans, credit cards. It could be debt that you owe. So things like the IRS or child support, things like that. That's all that. But your income is like if you're a W 2 employee, it can be your gross income that you're bringing in. So you just want to kind of make sure that, you're not upside down. Like your income is not, less than the debt that you have or whatever, because the rule of thumb for us, in the lending world, we try to keep that ratio relatively under that 43 to 45%. But if you do have a high debt to income ratio, a solution to that would be to either try to pay down some of your debt. One of the things I recommend is just don't pay it off yourself. Talk to a lender first before you go
Right.
and pay it off.
Right.
Absolutely.
Because sometimes you just could be paying off things prematurely.
Right.
Or just trying to find different loan programs that may accommodate a bigger debt to income ratio, because we do have some of those programs that will have a little bit of a higher risk threshold there too. So
That's the
that's all I'm
truth.
saying. Go ahead.
That's the truth, LaShawn. You right. Absolutely. I totally agree with you on that. Hey, people start getting their Dave Ramsey on, you know, and paying off debt, and
And off
it
this
don't help
cut
you.
card. Yeah.
Yeah, it talk to the lender first. I'm not
Yeah.
saying Dave Ramsey is wrong, so let me clarify that. But um, talk to the lender first before just eat beans and rice. Okay, so so and stop paying off debt like that. That way you don't, like I told y'all before. I don't know if y'all heard, like our credit scores started to decrease when we started like paying off certain debts, and we was like, what's going on? Like, and it was actually hurting us, than helping us. So, but once we got in the house, then we could do what we wanted to do with our debt. So,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah. So we,
Mhm.
we live and we learn. Lesson learned.
live
Yeah.
and we learn.
Yeah.
So before
So
we run
again,
out of time, go ahead. Go
I'm,
ahead. Go to
I'm
number
gonna hit.
5. I
I'm
think
gonna hit
that's an
number five.
important one.
Yeah.
Go
Yeah.
ahead.
Yeah.
Number 5.
Lack of home ownership education.
Yeah.
Um,
Mhm.
and this is where many potential buyers don't understand the mortgage process or even what they're looking for out there in the market. So you need the expert advice of a lender and a real estate agent. But for those who don't, who may lack home ownership education, guess what? This coming month, no, April what, LaShawn?
12, April 12th.
April
It was
12th, from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. in Orangeburg at the Orangeburg County Library. Beautiful
mm,
facility. We will be having, the home buyer blueprint so that
the
everyone can
blueprint.
get the blueprint to how to be a homeowner,
Get the
and
blueprint.
be able to answer all y'all questions and just give you sound advice and guide you in your home buying process.
Absolutely.
The
Absolutely.
blueprint,
So
guys.
yeah, man. So definitely come out and get that home buyer education so that that won't be a barrier for you. And then
Mhm.
last but not least, get pre-approved. Please get pre-approved. Getting
Mm,
pre-approved in this competitive market is going to be key, because that pre-approval is going to help you be more competitive when you go to make an offer. You'll kind of truly know what your buying power is, and it just helps solves a lot of the what ifs and some of the just overwhelmness that some people feel. So yes, guys. So that's all we have for y'all. So those are some of the barriers and some solutions that you guys, you know, may face, or we trying to help you guys not to face them. But in the event that you ever are looking for, a realtor, looking for a lender in Orangeburg or in the Charleston Tri-County area or anywhere in South Carolina, North Carolina, Georgia, we're definitely here to help you guys. So don't forget, April 12th. 11 a.m. 1 to 1 p.m. Orangeburg County Library. We are looking to do we are going to be doing a homebuyer seminar there. So the homebuyer blueprint, we hope to see you guys there and get some education. It's going to be a great, great, great event.
Sweet.
absolutely.
All right. Until next time, guys, have a great, great Tuesday.
Happy late St. Patrick's Day.
Yes.
All right. Peace out.